Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tama Gocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. The next qualification, as we said, is this Vairagya, which often gets sort of this name of jihasa, like I have to get away from things. But again, this is not Vedantic dispassion. And in Vedantic, dispassion is very different from Buddhism. And I'm going to bring them both to light, not to put anyone down, but just to provide how both methods could work, but they provide a different lifestyle. So in Buddhism, the basis of helping the individual see the impermanence of the world is they will bring out suffering in the world. There's suffering in animals. A dog can get road killed or broken leg. Nobody even cares about that dog anymore. So just look at the deer animals. We, kill them left and right. We poach elephants and their tusks just for a few profits because someone wants it on their wall. Families of fish, scores of fish get taken from the ocean just for our own consumption. And so even at the animal world, we can see there's just suffering and death. And they do this for a reason, to make you just reconsider that it removes this idea, this fantasy of the pretty world that I live in, that we all carry from childhood, this imagination, a pretty world I live in. And the world, if you look at, it's really neither pretty nor non-pretty. It's just a world that has many things in it. And what happens is, because there's so much suffering in the world, according to Buddhism, you end up creating this dispassion towards it. Because if I get into a relationship, I'll just suffer. So I'm going to now probably not get into one. If I become some important person in the world, then I'll probably get that position stripped away from me. So I'm probably not going to pursue that to the full potential that I could. I'm going to move away from things. And this moving away is because Buddhism brings out the world is just forms. Like this flower, you take a flower like this, and you go, what a pretty flower. But it's only pretty because it's parts put together with a certain color attached to the center, and you just multiply it, and then you have a mala, a garland. And you go, what a pretty garland. And they say, like this flower, the world is exactly the same. Your whole life is just parts within parts within parts within parts. Everything that you depend on, your clothes, like you look at your clothes, it's just yarn. You pull one strand and then the whole shirt just disappears. And yet you were fighting over this shirt like it was the best thing ever. Fashion, $3,000. How much is a suit? How much can you spend for a suit now? $25,000, right? That what celebrities wear? $25,000 for a piece of yarn well put together. And so the Buddhism brings out, hey, stop, just look at this. You're just wearing a bunch of, threads on you. And you're fighting over it, and you're putting so much confidence, so much identity in what you're wearing. And you're thinking about this going, wow, this is just a pocket over here, a color over here, a certain size, a certain, color and so on. And you're like, this is just parts. And I say, well, it's even smaller than that. It's just really just atoms. You're wearing just a bunch of atoms well put together. Oh, okay. So then what's the point of pursuing anything? So what this ends up doing is, if you don't have the right mind, it can sort of make you have an aversion towards the world now. If you don't have the right mind. If you do have the right mind, it can be a blessing. Because you're like, oh, thank you for snapping me out. Because I was, giving forms to, and reality to these forms. And I can't really now find any final form in my clothing or in anything at all. And so now Vedanta takes a different approach. It says, no, we don't start out by saying the world is full of suffering. Not at all. Not for one moment will you say to a student in Vedanta that the world is full of suffering. Maybe provisionally to snap you out, just to make you consider. But ultimately, what is Vedantic dispassion? It is nitya anitya vivekaha. It is recognizing that objects are objects and they are a means to an end, not the end itself. That's it. So this means now I can still enjoy objects. I treat them with respect. I don't discard them. There's no question of aversion or liking or obsession. They're just a means to an end. Now what's the end? The end is, of course, is that which is permanent. So you can see, if you think about how these two approaches could work and why they both work. So what happens also in Buddhism is, because not enough attention is put on consciousness, the final reality, then you have no fallback. You have nothing to fall, because now the world is just forms within forms. And so you say, what do I depend on? And then you say, well, even that question is just forms within forms. It's just a bunch of words, 26 letters of the alphabet that you rearranged, and you ask the question, what do I depend on? So even let go of that question. So now the student can get very frustrated from this, because in them, they know that all my life I've been seeking for happiness in objects. And now you're telling me that all objects are essenceless. And yet what I cannot deny is my need for happiness, my need for joy, my need for completion. So the person can get frustrated. Now Vedanta says, wait, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. There's something else there for you, and you need to discover that. But when it comes to objects, look at them as a mere dosha. Dosha doesn't mean sometimes interpreted as a defect. If I tell you, hey, look at objects as defects, what will you do? Hey, objects are defects. You see how that too can be misinterpreted? Objects are defects, doshas. Oh, okay, so now let me go and find defects in you. Too short, too big, this. Okay, everyone's defective now. You see, so it's not really about the word. It's really about the mind. Because you can use defect if you want, but defect doesn't mean to insult someone. So instead of using the word defect, you use the word limitation. In other words, what is the limitation of objects? Instead of what is the defects of objects. So when I recognize the limitation of objects, what happens automatically? What kicks in automatically when I recognize the limitation of objects? Vairagya. Natural byproduct is dispassion by recognizing the limitations of objects. It's not something that you tell to someone, have Vairagya, you need dispassion. You're like, oh, I need to develop dispassion. What makes dispassion there? What makes dispassion? Your Viveka. Recognizing the limitations of objects. Recognizing their doshas, their limitations, I come to see that an object can only do so much for me and not do other things for me. If I don't do that, what will happen? Then I start asking my partner for things that he or she cannot fulfill. Because I want them to be now everything for me. But in truth, nobody can fulfill all your fancies. Therefore, by engaging in Viveka, you start to bother things less. Because you just see them for what they are. And so you have a much easier time. Therefore, when you start to look at the doshas of objects, what automatically comes? Dispassion. So how is dispassion born? Because what's the mark of wisdom? It is seeing things as they are. without prejudices, without biases, without any fancies, without projections. It's just seeing them as they are. And thus you're able to respond appropriately as the object demands, instead of me superimposing an idea of what an object can do for me, and then my behavior is in line with my own projection. That's our issue. We deal with objects according to what we project them, meaning the value we project onto them. And then we act accordingly to that. And then the other object says, I don't like this. You're not treating me the way that I deserve to be treated. You're not, communicating with me in a way that is, down to earth. And then you go, oh, I might be doing something. I might be approaching the situation wrong. I might be projecting my own fancies onto the subject. That might be the issue. So this dispassion, at the same time, we said it comes from Viveka. Now, have you noticed, by the way, in your own life, that though you may intellectually know about the defects or the limitations of objects, you still have passion for them? You see this? So there's a incongruence between your emotional attractions and your intellectual understanding. And so the more, there's no real secret pill here to suddenly bring it all together. This is the whole progress in Vedanta. To bring it together until there's a match. What I intellectually know is how I genuinely feel. How I genuinely feel is what I genuinely have the values. Those values match my feelings. Feelings match my values. But initially, it's not like that. Initially, there's a discord. And the only way to bring that together, we call it the head and the heart shaking hands. The most important work. The only way to bring that together is by entertaining on and on the limitations of objects. And as you entertain more and more the limitations of objects, more and more your mind becomes clear to see realities as they really are. Does that sound like wisdom to you? Seeing things as they are. See, we often think moksha is going to make you see things as you are, as they are. But what actually led you to moksha is the discipline that a person had to keep on removing their own projections, their own ideas, and seeing things as they really are. For instance, suppose someone's driving a very loud car. Loud exhaust system. You heard that, right? Zzz. Now, what's your kind of first thought? I wish I had a bazooka, right? I wish they fall or something. So this can happen, right, with any situation. So now, if I were to see things as they are, how would I have to think about it? So it's not so abrasive. Give me an idea.
This guy needs to bring his car to the garage and get it fixed.
So he's going to the garage to get it fixed. How else? Come on, give me some ideas. Okay, very loud. Like something. Oh, okay. So he likes it. Yeah. Some people like it. Yeah. Okay, true.
Or maybe he never felt hurt in his whole life. So his mother, nobody's listening to him. So.
No one was gonna hear me. That's better. That's one step better. I too used to do something that was annoying for others. I just didn't know any better. I was in my own little world. I didn't mean to hurt others, but others were annoyed by it. That's one step better. Maybe they've got poor hearing. So the idea is, right? We can find something that it's more keeping with what is, rather than like just easy way out, right? A quick little label and then brush them off. See what you're doing there? Little label, brush them off. And yet the person's saying, let's understand the vision of oneness. And I constantly carve people out of reality. Like you shouldn't be part of the whole. And yet I say I'm the whole. But you're not the whole, because you're driving a loud motorcycle. So we cut ourselves short. You see, we allow these things of the world especially those things that really get to you. That's where the work is. Because it's not right to live with this vision of oneness and yet find reasons to exclude people from reality. You see, there's no sinner outside Ishvara's order. There's no separate sinner out there who's outside it. Everyone's within the bubble, within the grand bubble of the universe, where the laws are working on everyone equally. And so naturally, when you violate those laws, there are consequences. But some people just don't know. Because they had a certain childhood, they got mixed up with some friends who introduced them to motorcycles. Now they're in their prime years. Maybe the exhaust system is broken. You don't know. So that's the idea. So you're taking this amazing instrument to be more aligned to wisdom rather than to a personal attacking. Because whenever I attack someone and say they shouldn't be part of this world, they're XYZ, I'm attacking them and I'm saying you're the victim. No, I'm the victim, you're guilty. But the truth is, everyone is the Lord. Just a suit that's not well tuned, an unoptimized suit, like a broken software. So this is the work, see? So now, oneness, let's, understand from me. You see what we're doing? From me. Let me understand oneness from me. I'm going to now exclude and be free from everyone else. That's not what the vision is. The vision is actually 95% hard work to reconcile, especially those things that you want to exclude, that you just can't stand. Those are the very things, teachers, that are asking, not until you include me too in your oneness.
India is very possible for this.
Yeah. So that's the work. And so dispassion allows you to be more objective and bring this vision to actualize this image, this vision a lot more than if I don't have dispassion. Okay, next one, verse 12. Shama, managed mind. Vairagya vishaya vratat dosha drishtya muhuh swa lakshya niyata avastha manasa shama uchyate. So mind abiding in its own goal and dispassion towards a whole host of objects. Now I use the word dosha, so this is what I mean. Dosha, seeing their limitations on and on. So what does this do when you see someone's limitations? When you see, not someone's, but when you see the limitation of objects. What does that do? When you see the limitation of objects. So suppose we put a fancy house here in front, and I see limitation of this house. What does that mean? Does that mean I'm not going to move into the house? No. Okay, so I may move into the house, but I still see the limitations of the house. So what does that mean for you?
Not as attached interest.
Okay, now be more descriptive. I'm now not attached so much to the house, meaning, go on.
I do not expect that the day after I moved in I'll be happy forever.
Good. Yeah, very good. Yeah, you're just moving like normally. You're just moving normally. So then how do you now become objective based on what we said? How do you become objective? Everything I've said so far. Okay, and what would make you see it as it is? Seeing the dosha. The dosha. The limitations. On and on and on and on. I entertain the limitations of world, of life, of things, of experiences, of happiness, of anything. On and on and on. That is what makes you objective. What is objectivity? Clarity. How can you be clear if I'm projecting my own stuff? So what is clarity? It's removal of projections. What is removal of projections? Objectivity. What is objectivity? On and on and on, entertaining or seeing the limitations of living, of life. Not in a form of putting down life, but just seeing for life what it is. It can't give you that which is permanent. Now, once you do this, then the verse continues. Now, having done this, your mind finds the resolution. In other words, your mind is able to abide in its own goal. So what does this mean? Without dispassion, how would the mind abide in its own goal? Here, the goal means, in this context, Ishvara, the truth. How is the mind supposed to abide on Brahman, on Ishvara, on this truth, if it's constantly entertaining value, meaning? How is it? Can you see this? Can you see the logic here? Yes. So we want this vision to work, and yet here's a basic obstacle that needs to be solved. That I keep on just putting so much value onto things that I can't have clarity. I can't look at things as they are. So having removed these limitations and seeing them as they are, seeing the object as it is, what happens? Now the mind can finally abide in its own goal. In this context, the vision of oneness. So now if you say, geez, I've been listening to this for 20 years, my mind is not abiding in this goal. Why not? Ask yourself, what is your relationship to objects? That's the obstacle. Because one's still giving absolute reality to objects. But they don't have an absolute reality. They're just forms within forms within forms. Therefore, recognizing this, now you become more empathetic. You have more empathy. You can be more clear, more objective. What do I need to do? Let me do my part without getting all meshed up. Because what makes you meshed up in things? What makes you sort of like, you can't, you're just overtaken by something? You know that experience? You're overtaken by something. It just overtakes your entire day, your thought process, you're overtaken by it. Lack of dispassion. In other words, I am not looking at it as it is. I'm looking at it from meaning attribution. I'm giving it too much meaning. My family, my dad, my mom. It is my. It's not yours. It's just a series of pictures flowing by from an eternal play. An eternal play that's been going on. Characters, fictional characters talking together. And long after you and I are gone, this play is not going to end. And here I am in one life born, and now I'm making so much reality, so much importance to this short 80-year-old play. Why? Because failure to look at the doshas of objects. If you could only see the utter essenceless of the world, the person will be, ironically, so much more clear to do what needs to be done. But we don't, because we're so attached to the things that we give meanings onto. Therefore, now that the mind is abiding its own goal, it can just say, Lord, guide me, I am available to you. Guide me, because I want you. I don't want limitations anymore. I want that which is limitless. You see how the goal changes from limitation, because I've been giving reality meaning onto things, and now when things are just seen as they are, they don't have any meaning, what does your mind naturally go on to now? Did you ever notice, by the way, when all is lost, when the person has all their delusions are popped, what's the first thing that comes out of their mouth? Oh my God. Did you notice that? What was hiding underneath in that mind all along? While the person was saying, oh, I'm so free, I'm superior, I don't need anyone, and all of that is gone, what is the one last reality, the kutastha, that remains? We give it away in our speech. Oh my God. That which has been there all along, now that I no longer even depend on my reality, of my identity is gone, my bubbles are gone, that which I've been depending upon is gone, all my hopes and dreams are gone. What's the last thing that's there that we all resort to? God. Because I'm no longer giving value to objects. They lost their value. And automatically, you come to that which is always there, just silently calling for you and say, I'm waiting. I've been waiting since beginningless time for you to pursue me. Funny how our speech gives away so much. Verse 13, Dhamma, physical self-control. Vishayebhya paravartya sthapanam swasva golake ubhyaye sham indriyanam sa dhammaha parikirtitaha. Placing of both the organs of perception and organs of action in their right place, withdrawing them from their respective objects, is said to be Dhamma. Okay, so basically, so what is Dhamma? So suppose, because we talked about Shama now, it's a mental activity, right? Suppose, right, there's a failure to look at the real value of something and it still grabs you. The chocolate still grabs you. The experience still grabs you. So whenever Shama fails, whenever your reassessment of the meaning of an object fails, which is a mental activity, when that fails, what's your resort? Where do you fall back onto? You fall onto Dhamma, physical self-control. So now it says, according to the verse, it's twofold. What is physical self-control? What does it mean to say, I have physical self-discipline or self-control? Firstly, it's alertness in reference to organs of action. So one of the organs of action, so what is an organ of action? That which acts. How do you act in this world? You grasp, you walk, you speak, procreate, and excrete. Those are 5 organs of action. Without that, we can't do anything. We can't walk from here to there. So now let's take speech. That's the most potent organ of action. We use our speech sometimes irresponsibly, don't we? Yeah. So now, suppose there is a certain, right, we get emotionally triggered and you feel that knife, in the heart, and you want to like unleash, and it short circuits your Shama. It overrides that. Then Dhamma is physically restraining yourself. Simply don't say it. If you wanted to swear, don't say it. And that gives you just enough pause, time, to reflect, what's a better response? Because there's always a better response. That's it. It's just physically restraining yourself. You don't say those words. Or you say the minimum that you can without hurting too much. You physically shut yourself off. You're speaking too much. You stopped yourself. At that moment when just too much, stop. That's Dhamma. If you just keep on rambling, you're probably going to form a negative relationship with the person. So Dhamma goes a long way. Therefore, alertness. What is this hand doing right now? What is this mouth doing right now? How am I walking to you? Aggressively, friendly, just alertness. No, stop. That's number 1. And number 2, alertness in reference to organs of perception. So we got 5 senses. So what do we do here? Sometimes when you are in a place and there's gossip, what's the best thing to do? Stay there, pretend like you're nice, ha 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 ha, okay, or go. Go. That's called being an adult. Simple. Excuse me, I have to leave. So you're deliberately moving your body from one place to the other. Because why? It doesn't align to my values right now. There's too much gossip. I can't handle this, I have to go. You don't mean to insult the person. You're just saying, this is not for me. It's simple. Therefore, alertness in terms of what do I hear on and on? What do I want to hear on a daily basis? Good audios, positive talk, or insults and news and war and this. It really affects your mind, doesn't it? Yeah. The fastest way to just turn gloomy, just engage in that. So you turn it off. Now there's a nice analogy of this between Shama and Dhamma. See, imagine your thoughts are like inmates in a prison. And Shama is the one that calls an inmate into an office and talks it through. What's going on? Tell me about it. Okay. What else do you need? So you're talking it through, you're analyzing psychology. This is Shama. But there are some inmates who try to escape the jail. And Dhamma is the guard who catches them because they're not fit for the society. If they go out, they will use their organs of speech to hurt, their organs of grabbing to hurt, gangan, right? They will use different methods. So therefore, Shama, Dhamma, physically pulls back your words, physically holds you to one place. Shama and Dhamma. Two ways to regulate our, for example, anger. Anger is a common one. Anger sometimes is connected to sense of justice, but also sometimes to unresolved emotions. So now when there's anger, what do? According to Dhamma, you simply hold it back. Why? Because you need to process that anger. Now, anger is very interesting. It is connected to a sense of justice, number one, and two, it's connected to sometimes unresolved emotions. However, usually both of them get mixed up together. Now, very interesting, there's a course, a nice book, 365-day workbook, A Course in Miracles. Not the textbook, I don't really agree with that, but the 365-day workbook, very straight facts. And it talks about anger. And it says that, you see, when there is anger, what often happens is it's more connected less to external situations, it's more connected to your own unresolved pain. So what happens is the person's carrying a sense of unworthiness about oneself, or they're feeling an incompetence, a non-validation of their existence. Like, I'm not good enough. Now, what happens is external situations become scapegoats for that anger to express. And there was one situation that happened to me is I drive to the shopping mall every Tuesday. And I drove my car, as I usually do for years, in a parking lot. And I got out of the car. And this man is just staring at me, right? Like I've done something wrong. And I naturally stare at him, right? And I come closer to him. My body's just coming closer to him. And he starts to shout. I'm like, what? Huh? And he says, like, I've done something wrong. In fact, I said, did I do something wrong? Yes, you did. You almost hit me. And he was so angry. He was just shouting at me, so angry. And I knew that this guy was actually talking about someone else. But I pretended to be this, fella, just to allow him to vent his emotions. So he's shouting at me. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's not going to happen again. Believe me, I'm very, very, very sorry. And then I used that as a teaching lesson for myself. And I connected it to what A Course in Miracles said. And I realized, this man is a perfect example. There was something about being so angry about something so little, like he almost ran over. I mean, this is a very quiet suburb. And I realized a lot of people hold a sense of not good enoughness in them. Like I'm unseen in the world. And so when he thought he's going to get hit, that anger triggered all these unresolved things in him. Like, I'm never seen, the world treats me unfair, if I was worthy, this would not happen to me. If I had real value, people would see me, they will hear me. All these things might have come out to cause so much anger. So I thought, what a good example to show how anger, though connected to a sense of injustice, can also get mixed up with one's own inner pressures and are using an external situation as a scapegoat to put out all that unseen, invalidated, unworthy human being that I haven't fixed in myself. So anger in this case, what do you do with Dhamma? What would we do in his case? Hold it back. Because, hey, when someone almost hits you, but they don't hit you, does everyone respond shouting like crazy? Not everyone. Like, oh, okay, cool. You almost hit me, just letting you know. Careful. Simple. This guy's like crazy crazy shouting. So the question is then, what makes you trigger so much? Hold it back. And that's a perfect opportunity to work on one's premature responses. So that's the power of Dhamma. See, he had the power to use that moment to grow, to evolve. Now, whether he used that power or not, I don't know. But it's just an example showing you how even anger can be used as an opportunity for growth. That's the power of spontaneous sadhana. No need to sit down in a bedroom and do my sadhana. When do you do your sadhana? In real world challenging situations. Right after it's happened, that's your sadhana. And I didn't leave this thing out of my mind. I was just like, let me really understand human behavior based on his response. Entire day, I was looking on AI, using AI, a different CBT, DBT, ACT, looking into human behavior. Why do people act angry? What would trigger them like this? Connecting it to Course in Miracles, connecting it to the Vedas, to the Bhagavad Gita. Using an entire day. You know why? Because it was still emotionally hot in my body. That's the best time when you use something to help yourself. And how did I walk away? Much wiser. Look at that. Using things like this to engage in research and better yourself. Forget about this whole notion of, oh, let me sit down when everything's perfect in my life and now I'm going to learn. It's so disconnected from reality. So this is a good time to learn when things are not going well. Verse 14. Uparati and Titiksha. Bahya analambanam vrtehe esha uparatihi utama. Sahanam sarva dukkhanam apratikara purvakam chinta vilapara hitam sa titiksha nigadyate. Okay, so two more qualities. In fact, there's two more after this. Uparati and Titiksha. Okay, so what is Uparati? Uparati is... Okay. Did you ever have a time in your life when you were leaning onto objects to gain confidence? And when that object went away, your confidence evaporated in an instant. Is that pleasant? To constantly need something, to lean upon it for your own sense of well-being. No, it's not pleasant. So what is Uparati? Non-leaning on external objects to be who I am. Non-leaning. Non-leaning on relationships, non-leaning that things need to work out, non-leaning on situations that have to always be in what I want them to be, non-leaning on that, because they will disappoint you. They're just waiting to disappoint you. How do you engage in non-leaning? That's this question for you. What would you have to do so that you can still participate with an object, but not lean upon it? Tell me. Okay, excellent. Seeing the limitations. Yeah, it's a very uncomfortable feeling, yeah. It kind of, yeah, you feel a little bit too dependent, you lose your power, so then you can... Okay.
Knowing that it's temporary.
Knowing it's temporary, seeing the dosha, the limitation.
And investigating what is behind this belief, it makes me lean on it.
What would I have to believe that I need to lean upon this to have some sense of purpose and meaning? Yeah. What would make you not lean? Still having a relationship with it, but not lean upon it. Because this is incredible quality to have. This is the art of being an independent thinker, an innovative, independent thinker. The moment I lean upon things, yeah, something might be missing. I investigate into what is missing in me that's making me lean on things, yeah? Okay. What about the notion, this is not really mine? This is not mine. Namaha, not mine. Because it's not yours. It's just a gift. It's given to you by the grace of the Lord. It was never yours to begin with. Even the very body is going to be given back to the 5 elements one day. It's not mine. Let me remind myself, this is not mine. As much as I love this, it's not mine. I'm honored to have it. So now, let's do a little exercise. Suppose you're in your house and you see your friends. Imagine seeing everyone in front of you. Maybe close your eyes for this. You see all the things, the precious things before you, in front of you. People, books, some objects, some family members. Everything is in front of you right now. And they're looking at you. There's one of you and they're all looking at you. And you open your eyes and you look at them, and with love, with just appreciation, say thank you, but not mine. Not mine. I'm free of you. I'm totally free of you. I love you, but I'm free of you. And I will continue to engage with you, but you're not mine. Okay? This isn't mine. Even if you were the owner of the entire world, of Earth, what are you an owner of? A little speck. You know how small Earth is? Suppose you're the king of Earth or queen of Earth. You own the entire world. What is that? You know, you look from Mars like, Earth, where? You see? And it's like so much, oh mine. Increase the object, Earth, oh mine. It's still nothing. It's this little speck in the vast universe. Now the next one is Titiksha. Titiksha is objectivity. As we discussed, it is recognizing the dualistic nature of the world. For every plus, there's a minus. And every minus, there's a plus. So what does this mean? It is having a larger fallback in life. How do you endure? Because Titiksha means endurance. How do you endure the pinpricks of life, the small things? How do you endure? What would make you endure constantly the pinpricks of life that never end? Fallback. What is your fallback? What is your project in life that keeps you alive, that keeps you busy, that keeps you going? What is that? Do you have a project? Do you have a fallback? When everything is gone, where do you automatically fall back upon? When things are not working out, what is that fallback that keeps you upright, still focused, and maintains your honor and your dignity? What is that? What maintains that? Forbearance. Titiksha is endurance. Endurance to small things in life.
This is what's going through my whole life and still
Super. That's a fallback. That's also a fallback. And it's not like you're rejecting things. It's very clear. This is that. Yeah, we'll get to that, yeah. So think about this. What is your fallback?
For me, my fallback is the thought, I am the whole.
Yeah, so you don't have to blame things, because as we discussed, that's just carving the person out, right? Putting them out of existence. And that doesn't make us feel good at all. Do you feel good when you secretly carve someone out of existence and say, I wish they didn't exist, or they're a fool? Like, be brutally honest. Do you, even though we do it, do you feel that little pang, that little, that this is not right? Do you feel that? I think we all do. That's Ishvara telling you this is not the right thing to do. And that Ishvara can be your fallback. That system that's always guiding me towards the truth, it's still in here. It hasn't left me. And as long as I follow that, I can't go wrong. Things will be taken care of. They may take a hard turn, but they will be guiding you, like on a gentle boat. You see, the Lord is always speaking to you. The feedback system is there. That's your fallback. We always say, oh, God, help me. Hey, you showed up. Doesn't that mean that you were guided somehow by the Lord's guidance, by the Lord's guidance system? It's so funny. We find ourselves in these wonderful places and we go, oh, I'm lost. I don't know where I should be. And yet, you've arrived. Now, titiksha, endurance, by the way, isn't bearing it. If the window is open at night and you're like, I'm just going to bear this. It's not what titiksha is. Just go and close the window. Yeah. So yes, you are enduring the pinpricks of life, but it doesn't mean don't act. Still, go, excuse me, this is too loud. Please silence. And one more in reference to people. This is the big one. What would make you endure the annoyances that we often receive from the society or people? Because that's the main source of frustration. It's people, it's not really objects. That's the main part here of titiksha. So titiksha is endurance, okay? What would make you endure those ones who are close to you doing something that you don't agree with? You know how difficult that is, right?
They have to put up with me too,
Father, they don't know what they do.
They don't know what they're doing. Yeah, that's wonderful.
They are different from me.
They're indifferent to me.
No, they are different.
They're different from me. Yeah, they're different from me. They don't recognize your value. Isn't it interesting? You can be a doctor or a great saint, but if someone is into cooking, they have no value from you. They want to talk about cooking. So can you take that personally? No. So now, what would make me endure those who are close to me doing something that I totally disagree with? What's the answer?
Another expression of Ishvara.
Another expression of Ishvara? Do they know everything?
Limited knowledge.
Do you know everything? So they don't know everything. I don't know everything. They're ignorant. Did they intentionally decide to be ignorant?
No, just acceptance.
Yeah.
They don't know what they don't know.
I don't know what I don't know. So then how can I know any more than what I know? And what I know is not that effective. So in other words, what would make you endure those things done by those very close to you that are doing something that you don't agree with? What's the answer? They're driven by pressures. They're driven by their own ideas, by their own, emotional oxygen. They need emotional oxygen to breathe. I can't breathe. Please, remove. To you, that looks irrational. To them, they need to survive. Because that's what they need in that moment.
Is that not called love? For me, is that love because when you can accept and see everything as it is from the person, that is love.
And that's also, there's words for that. There's accommodation. You're accommodating their ways. There's forgiveness. I'm forgiving. Now, what is forgiveness? Because it's very similar to titiksha. I understand two things to forgive. One, I understand that you simply didn't know. You don't have all knowledge. So how can I expect from you to do everything perfect if you don't have all knowledge? I don't have all knowledge. So how can you possibly expect someone like that to do everything right? And second, what is the one commonality that I share with you? What is that sameness that we both enjoy? What is that commonality? Look at this. I want you to tell me, what is a commonality that you instantly find with someone else in a moment of disagreement?
All go from Ishvara. It's the same.
Everything's within the order of Ishvara. How else can you possibly find peace if I'm just separating them out? The only way, a true way to love, to forgive, to accommodate, is I have to at least find one thing that we both share. It's like this arm. This is part of me. So I love this arm. If this arm gets hurt, what happens? I want to heal it. I want to take care of it. If I think this arm is separate, then what do? Naturally, I want to it's not my arm. I don't want to take care of it anymore. I don't care what happens to it anymore. So it's my job to discover what do I have common with another person as though it's my own arm. Until that happens, whatever you try, all these techniques you try to reconcile, and it's all going to be fake. So what is the commonality? We both, the light in you is the same light in me. We both enjoy the same reality. We're both part of this journey trying to figure things out. Figure that out. Until then, it's very difficult to find some real possibility for love or accommodation. So what is love? What is accommodation? What is forgiveness? Finding unity. You actively engage your mind to find unity between me and you. It's an active process. It's work. We're not relinquishing responsibility because that is not Ishvara's order. Ishvara's order is harmony, it is connection, it is do what you can. Reach out, because we're all contributors, as we discussed yesterday. Let's do one more. Shraddha. This is a provisional trust in the teacher and the teaching. Verse 15. Shastrasya guru vakyasya satya buddhi avadharana sa shraddha katita sadbhihi yaya vastu upalabhyate. The conviction that the Shastra and the words of the teacher are true is said to be Shraddha. Okay. So Shraddha, that means trust. Can you buy trust? No. How does trust develop? I think I just gave the answer. It develops. So the teacher doesn't demand trust from you or your kind of like, believe me. Trust is earned. The more the teacher speaks, the more the scriptures make sense, the more you think and ruminate upon it and it makes sense and like there's more to learn, the more you develop that trust. It is a slow, gradual increase of your connection to the teacher, and likewise, it's how it is anywhere. Thus, and also sometimes this trust is not possible because one is too invested in their system. So if you sort of, say, for example, the body is not yours and your house is not yours, and if the person is too far gone in their own system, are you going to really trust someone like that? No. You're going to find Vedanta offensive. So in those cases, we call these individuals, you're not ready. You're not ready for Vedanta. I can't reach out to you. I can't tell you. I can't speak freely. Otherwise, you'll criticize me, you'll so on. So what is trust? It is something that grows. Shraddha grows little by little, day by day. This is how it is with all teachings and with any person that you interact with. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam eva avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.